You understand uh, how I'm behind, okay? I don't have a clue what I'm supposed to come up with on the 23rd, okay?
Okay, well, what the judge asked us to do is to exchange a list of witnesses that each of us will be presenting at the evidentiary hearing, and also a list of exhibits or documents that each of us will be potentially using as exhibits or as evidence at the hearing. I'm going to be emailing you this afternoon a copy of my disclosures, and I'll also put a copy of that in the mail for you. And then that's, you got to send me the same kind of thing.
Well, I've got all kinds of documents. That's the thing.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, you should have never have brought that against me, because
I know how you feel.
I know how you think. I know how you think. All right? Yeah, you think that I'm going to have a big payday. The judge is going to support me. You're going to take one little clip of time. It's like this whole 19 years that I've been here has been a roll of 35 millimeter film. And for 19 years, there's a story. But you're going to take one time period in that 19 years, and you got it wrong. You said there was a lighthouse. There wasn't a lighthouse there. It had been taken down a year and a half before. You put words.
Sorry, a year and a half before what?
Before you wrote the letter. You wrote a letter saying that the lighthouse is on his property. Like I said before in our last conversation, the last time we talked, and you told the judge, and I told you, I said, we wasted 13 minutes of what I paid $235 for a half an hour hearing. We wasted the first 13 minutes worrying about that lighthouse, and it wasn't there. It had been removed a year and a half before.
Fine. I think the bigger issue is the hill that you have here.
Well, why didn't you say that in the first place? Why didn't you say that in the first place? Why did you go to all this?
It's right there in the lawsuit. It says.
Yeah, but it's it's buried.
From the HOA to you that says that is one of the main issues. I mean, it makes sense for us to just go back and forth about this right now.
Well, listen, your first item, the first 5 items are exhibits in that lawsuit. The first one was an outdated CC&R that was 19 years old. You took the original CC&R, 19 years old, and you presented it as being current. Then you put out the second was the deed. The deed clearly states that whoever succeeds, the grantor on the deed, which is the HOA, they're the HOA, I pays dues to them. I've got like about $35,000 worth of canceled checks of dues that I paid to the HOA over the last 19 years. All right, that tells me that they're responsible for track day, for everything. Okay, and it's all about track day. And if you would have started and just said he's got a pile of sandbags, that's what the lawsuit is all about. But that judge, and you won't listen, you won't watch my videos because your time is too valuable to watch videos. Okay? You're telling me that I'm a lawyer, I should get paid $200 or $300 for every hour of video I watch from you.
No, but we don't communicate your videos. You can email me, you can talk to me on the phone,
Well, I wasn't in violation. I wasn't in violation of the charge for the lighthouse. I wasn't in violation. That lake house came down from that property line. And another thing, Trevor, I've got all kinds of video that shows that lighthouse has been there for over 10 years. I got a video that I did 10 years ago before I ever started doing anything to the lot. Before I started excavating, putting in pipes, making it drain, everything like that. I have a video of that lighthouse being on my lot. It's been there for 10 years. And I took it down a year and a half ago. The person I sold the house to didn't like that lighthouse, so I took it down, I removed it. Now, a year and a half later, you write up there's a lighthouse on my property, and that judge burned up 10 to 13 minutes wanting to know about the lighthouse. I'll tell you another thing. I went to a lawyer. I went to DeSalis. I gave DeSalis $350 to have him laugh in my face. More or less laugh in my face and kick me out of his office. He had that summons for a week to read everything about it. He read everything on the summons, went through it, and I had an appointment with him. And during that week, I went and got all the cancel checks for the fines you said I didn't pay in your letter. There's another falsehood. Never paid the fine. The fines are all paid. So you were wrong there. You were wrong with the lighthouse being on the yard. You were wrong that the fines weren't paid, and you were wrong on May when you said they told me about the lighthouse, the wind chime. There was no mention of it. Okay? So for the first exhibits that you had in that thing, and when I got into DeSalis and I talked to the head guy, and after he read the thing, I had pictures, I had canceled checks, I had 19 years of this double talk that I get from the HOA every time I try to get something done with them. They double talk me, all right? The first thing that he said to me is, what are you going to do about the lighthouse? I wasted, just like with the judge, I wasted 20 minutes of that hour, $350 interview with DeSalis, where he kept asking me, what are you going to do about the lighthouse? Even he got fooled by it. You made the lighthouse the hook. This is the hook that's going to get every... Well, you said it's on my property. Why was the lawyer asking me what I was going to do with the lighthouse? And when I told him, I said that the lighthouse is a moot point. It isn't there. What this lawyer is telling me, and then the judge, the same thing. Now a week or 2 weeks later, we finally have our hearing, okay? And it's not done with letters. It's not done in person. It's more done like a media, like a video. You're telling me we don't watch videos. Well, there's a video now of that hearing. I've got a half an hour video on the hearing. And for the first 10 minutes, the judge said to me, when are you going to take down the lighthouse? And because you didn't come out here, and Carolyn didn't come out here before you made that lawsuit.
Well, I did tell the judge during the hearing that this isn't entirely about the lawsuit, entirely about the lighthouse.
Well, why didn't you make it about what you did?
Issues with the backyard.
You didn't.
Around here and just talk about the lighthouse.
Well, yeah, you made it the main part. Well, my first disclosure is the lighthouse wasn't there. My second disclosure is...
Send it to me.
What? You want the video?
Send that to me. A written document that has your disclosure, that has your witnesses and your exhibits.
Well, you see how you're handcuffing me? You're handcuffed. The only way I know how to communicate.
For a long time that this is what we need to do, so.
I've been paralyzed, dude. I've got 4 or 5 piles of paperwork that I took into DeSalis. I went in there with about a half an inch of pictures over the last 19 years. I had documents. I had all the canceled checks to make sure that I had a canceled check for all the penalties or all the fines you said I didn't pay. I spent the first 2 days getting all those canceled checks for every fine you said I didn't pay. You lied. You misrepresented the truth. No, you're handcuffing me. You're handcuffing me with paperwork. I'm not a lawyer. I don't produce documents. I produce videos. And I'm very good at it. And I have a lot of information in the video, but you're telling me I'm going to make you use our language. We're not going to use your language. And as far as I'm concerned, you and the judge, all he cares about is that narrow, focused period of time. All I care about is that one period of time where he says you have a lighthouse out there. I didn't have a lighthouse there. You were saying that, and they haven't sent me anything as a return receipt letter. Now, you're going to put a judgment against me, all right? What's going to happen is, if I do exactly what you say, I get rid of all the sandbags, I restore it to what it was. What it was out of compliance. Okay? All I have to send you is my finished floor elevation permit and the plans for my finished floor elevation. That's all you need from me. And I'm gonna send you Woody Scoutton's letter where he decertified Tract A. Now, they lowered my house 2.5 inches 20 years ago, and they did a little social engineering over here. They made my lot the drain. I had a surveyor come out here, and he stood right on my property where the puddle starts and where it ends. And the first thing he said to me was, "They made you it. You're the drain up here." I've been doing that. I've been doing this 35 years. I can see that you're it. No water can leave your lot. Okay? They made you it. They plugged up the other drain. I got a letter from a town engineer said this emergency exit, this emergency drain over here in Tract A is out of compliance. And for 1.5 years, nobody turned a shovel. Nobody did anything. You know what they did? Charlie Waters went downtown and gave the mayor about $30,000. And the mayor said, "Leave those guys alone over there. We're not fixing that Tract A. It's going to stay that way forever." Until I got arrested walking on it. I did a little Boston Tea Party. I'm a New Yorker. I'm from back east. I believe in civil disobedience. I believe that dissent is the purest form of patriotism. All right? I spent 4 years in the Marines. I took a lot of shit. I got drafted. I got sold down the river. I've got a lot of miles on me. Okay? And I see what's going on here. You guys are trying to steal my equity. And I tried to call this morning AAM customer service, and for over an hour they gave me the runaround. I made a video. It's online. I'll send it to you. They wouldn't answer my questions. When I said to them, I said, "How does Carol Clinton get away from hanging up on me no matter what kind of problem I call her with?" She immediately says, "You got to talk to the lawyer," and she hangs up. She says, "I'm going to hang up on you, click." The guy today hung up on me because he didn't have an answer. And you don't have an answer. I've got 6 invoices where I've been sending in payments for 1.5 years with return receipt costs me like $17 every time I send a payment in for my invoices on my dues, and they're not crediting me. I took accounting in college. I got 3 years of a business degree. I took corporate finance. I took intermediate accounting. I took basic accounting. I know how to add and subtract. I also know debit and credit. I know what income statements are. I know what all these ratios, earnings to expense ratios, all that stuff. Okay? And I'm getting these invoices and it doesn't make sense. They're not crediting me. I've sent in 6 payments and they're not crediting me. Now, I call up Caroline and she says, talk to the lawyer. And you told the judge that I don't have any fines against me. And right now, if I brought in all these what do you think a fine, what do you think a $50,000 fine is? You want to play semantics? You want to play word games?
There's no lien. There are fines, but there's no lien. You call it a lien.
What do you think it is? It's an encumbrance on the house. I can't sell the house. I can't sell the house. The guy that sold my first house, he's from Buckeye. He's a Buckeye realtor. When I showed him all this paperwork, he says, until you get rid of that fine, and I'm not paying, to think that I'm going to pay $60,000 to live here, I have to pay your court fees on top of $60,000. There's a constitutional amendment, I think it's the Civil Rights number 8, it's the 8th Bill of Rights. This is excessive. $100 a day, this is a tempest in a teapot. The reason that those bags are on that corner is because for 19 years I've been encroached on by the golf course. I'm only 42 yards away from where they put the tee box every morning. They make sure that day in and day out that I'm being encroached on by amateur golf. I've got people walking in my yard all the time. I got people putting balls in my yard all the time. And the reason I put that pile of sandbags on that corner is because that's the first place that people go to get into my yard. They can hit a ball 6 houses down. They know it went into a house 6 houses down from me, and they start at the corner of my lot, walking that hedgerow, looking in everybody's yard for a golf ball. And if they get caught, I've called the police several times on golfers trespassing. I immediately call the police. I give them the cart number, a description of them, and what happens? The policeman shows up at my house and says, I'm going to put you on camera. I'm going to put you on camera. Now you have to tell me what's wrong. And I have to go on camera, on a video, to make a complaint. Okay? This has happened about 4 times. And for you to tell me, if I come in with all these invoices and I'll say, look, they charged me at the end of the pay period, and then they didn't credit me, they charged me again at the beginning of the pay period. All right? They're not crediting me. The last 6 payments that I've sent in for my dues haven't been credited to my account.
Tell me, when did you make those payments?
The day when I got them. I made them before.
What were the dates when you made the payments?
Oh, here we go again. I'm supposed to know this off the top of my head.
Well, I have a copy of your ledger, and I see it's on here. I don't know why you're saying that you're not being credited, because I see where they're crediting you the payments.
They're not. Look at the end of the period, and you'll see that they go $326 or $313. The end of the period, it goes $313 charged, and now at the beginning of the next period, I've got the canceled check, because right now I'm checking everything. I go right to my bank account. I make sure that check cleared. They put a penalty on January of 2023 that my payment was late. I've got a canceled check that it cleared the bank at the end of December. But 2 weeks later, I've got a charge for being late, that I made a late payment. And they never sent me the invoice for April, May, and June, and they never sent me the invoice for June, July, and August. I had to send those payments in, and I've got video. I called up HOA, I called up AAM in March. At the end of March, I know there's a payment coming up for April, and I know that if I miss the payment, they can take me into foreclosure. All right, so I'm definitely going to make the payment, and I haven't got an invoice yet. So I called up HOA, or I called up AAM. I was on the phone with an hour. I was on the phone with them for an hour. It's on YouTube. And all I got was double talk and runaround. And I said, I need that invoice. I need that invoice because I have to pay the dues. I ended up paying the dues that month without an invoice. I had to use an old invoice. All right, 3 months later, same thing. I haven't got an invoice. And I go, I call them up again. They go, oh, we'll send it out to you. We'll send it out to you. We'll get it to you. Then I called up Carolyn. Immediately, she hung up on me. Immediately, I don't have to talk to you. Who gave Caroline the permission to break her contract with me? I have a contract with the HOA. I pay them dues, and they service whatever needs I have. Who told her? Was it you? Did you get her in an executive session, and did you tell her you don't have to talk to him anymore? Have him call me? Who allowed her to break that contract that she had with me? I'm paying dues. She kicked me out of the HOA 7 years ago. I went to a meeting. I saw too much. I heard too much. The next day, Charlie Waters went to the police, and he gave the police a cock and bull story, how I had been harassing him. The next thing you know, I've got a policeman at my door who doesn't have a warrant. He doesn't have anything. He never went and talked to Charlie Waters. I had to go through the embarrassment of having a policeman for a half an hour pointing his finger at me, putting words in my mouth that I was harassing Charlie Waters, and he's got nothing. He didn't even go to Charlie Waters first. You know how they have to come to me first whenever I report golfers going on my property trespassing? He didn't have to do that. Charlie Waters called up. Charlie Waters is the mayor's campaign manager. Charlie Waters is the treasurer of the HOA. Charlie Waters, in 3 years, gave the town of Buckeye over $100,000. And when I got the Tract A decertified by the engineer, when the town engineer, Woody Scout, and the top engineer came out here, he wrote up the tract. He sent the HOA a letter. He said, the tract is out of compliance. It's plugged in. All the houses are in danger of being flooded if the tract is ever needed. All right, he had ordered the HOA immediately restore it, dig it out and restore it. The HOA did nothing for a year and a half. A year and a half, they never turned a shovel. What happened was Charlie Waters went in and gave the mayor's favorite charity about $30,000. Now a year goes by and nobody has turned a shovel. I had a meeting with Woody Scout in downtown. I've got all kinds of letters I've written back and forth to the HOA. Everybody said we're looking into it. We got engineers looking into it. And finally, about a year later in a meeting, I was able to corner Pat Pence Young, and I said, what have you done? And basically, she's an honest person. She couldn't be dishonest anymore. She told me straight in my face, we haven't done a thing. We've done nothing. Now, I had to buy FEMA flood insurance for 2 years. Somebody had to be an adult over here. I've got all those documents. FEMA flood insurance, I had to buy it for 2 years at like $400 a year. And the second year, when it came to renew it, FEMA put me through the paces. They sent a letter to my insurance holder, State Farm. They said, why is this guy buying insurance for flooding? It don't make sense. He's in a neighborhood, a blueprinted neighborhood that will never flood because he has Tract A as his safety valve. Well, I had a letter from the head engineer who covered his ass. This is like being airplane maintenance. He come out, he took one look at it, and he said, this could be my license. This could be my career. I've seen it. I have to write it up. He got fired. They replaced him with a younger guy after he did that. He was scolded. More or less, they pulled his pants down and spanked him. Don't ever write up anything ever, ever, ever again at the golf course. And like I said, I'm an East Coaster. I believe in civil disobedience. So I started walking Tract A. I had a little Boston Tea Party. I had a letter from the top engineer in town telling the HOA to dig out that tract and that it was filled up and that it wouldn't drain and all the houses were in danger. So I immediately went and bought flood insurance. And I had carried it for 2 years. And like I said, at the end of 1 year, the insurance company wanted to know, FEMA wanted to know, why is he buying flood insurance? He's in a neighborhood that'll never flood. If it was built correctly, he doesn't have a worry about it. But they did what they did to me, Trevor. If you'd get in a car and come out here and earn the money that you're, instead of sitting in an office making up a lawsuit from letters that are 3 years old telling me that I didn't pay due, telling the judge that I didn't pay the fines, I paid them immediately. I got all those canceled checks. I've got all this paperwork. I've got probably 200 pages of paperwork that the court wants quadruple copies of. And the court, like I said, when I went into that DeSalis, he kicked me out of his office, more or less said, you're wanting to bring all this stuff up. You're wanting to go back into ancient history, statute of limitations. They're not going to want to talk about that. They want to talk about the lighthouse. And he kept going back to the lighthouse, just like the judge. The lighthouse that when you wrote up the lawsuit wasn't there. It hadn't been there for over 1.5 years. And to have Caroline sign a deposition saying, I agree with everything that's on this lawsuit. She's agreeing that there's a lighthouse on my property line that hasn't been there for 2 years. That's what she agreed to. She said, I'm going along with everything that's in this, that's truthful, that's false witness. There was no lighthouse. And it even got me in a row with DeSalis because I couldn't get him off it. He kept saying, that lighthouse is what captured me. That's the most important thing on the lawsuit. What are you going to do about the lighthouse? And then finally he said, after I had all these pictures, all these documents, all these canceled checks, I got the canceled checks for all the dues that I've sent in since they started the lawsuit. And every one of those has been sent return receipt, certified mail. That's an extra $17 and a run to PostNet every time I want to pay my dues. All right? And I want to thank you for letting me talk. Okay? I think you understand what's going on. I wasn't liked from the day I bought in here. The day I closed the houses, the last 2 houses, I bought 3 houses next to each other out here. Okay? I was seen as a carpetbagger. I was seen as somebody that came in and took advantage of the weak economics here in Buckeye. You came from California, you brought in your play money, You bought 3 of the best lots on the course. You bought 3 of the smallest houses on 3 of the best lots. On the day I closed the last 2 houses, the realtor told me, he says, this wasn't popular. Nobody liked this. Everybody here is upset that you came in from California with your California money and tied up 3 of the best lots on the course. He didn't have to tell me all that. I figured it out on my own. Okay? And a month after we had that conversation, I had a letter in my file. So I hold records out here. I hold records for somebody that's paid more dues than anybody else. I've written personal checks for dues over $35,000 on 3 houses in the last 19 years. And during that time, I've never used their facility. I don't take showers there. I don't use the workout room. I've never been to one of their parties because I worked at Sky Harbor on graveyard, and I only had weekdays off. I didn't have weekends off, and I worked graveyard, so I've never been to one of their parties. I don't flush their toilets. I don't take showers. I don't use their facilities. When they canceled my key card, all that meant for me is I can't go to meetings now. I never used the place before. It gagged me. I have to take seasickness pills to walk into that place. It is so MAGA. It's MAGA. My whole neighborhood is MAGA. Okay? If you were to do a survey out here of all the people who occupy Sundance Active Adult, if you got them into one room together, they'd all be wearing red hats. And if you asked them, who's the president, they would all say Donald Trump. You know it. And you know it. The state is so MAGA, and I'm the only person that knows Donald Trump. I grew up with him. Okay, I'm 2 years younger than he is. And to think, I'm an ex-Marine, I got a cataract in my eye, I have panic attacks driving across country to the city. My last 2 years that I worked at the airport for US Air, I had panic attacks on the way to work and on the way home. I don't know if you've ever had one in a car, but it ain't fun. And the reason I was having them is fatigue. They did all kinds of neurosurgery on me. They did every kind of check on me, brain scans and everything else. And finally, this guy, this neurologist, this professional says, how much sleep do you get a day? I said, I'm lucky to get two or 3 hours of sleep. He says, that's your problem. Sleep deprivation. You're working graveyard, you live on a golf course, you got people walking in your yard day in and day out. I've got people walking in my yard all the time. I'm always hit by golf balls. It's hard to have a weekend go by where I don't hear a ball hit my house. I've had 3 broken windows in this house. I got a broken solar panel on another house, and the other house that I own, they broke the sliding glass door with golf balls. All right, that's why I have that pile of dirt there, and I can't get anybody in the pro shop to understand. I've got kids running the pro shop. I've been playing golf 65 years. 65 years I've been playing golf, swinging a golf club, at least 60. I've seen every kind of bad shot there is. And for you to put that tee box only 45 yards from my house and just offline, and to put the worst golfers on the planet out here, I'm constantly being encroached. And another thing is, one of the things I'm going to send along is my permit for my finished floor elevation. I'm going to send the blueprint for the master plan for the community. And I also have the permit for my house. They don't agree. They lowered my house 2.5 inches. They lowered my house 2.5 inches intentionally. That tampered with the sewer pipes. When I pay my sewer bill to the town of Buckeye, I'm getting cheated. You know why? Because my sewer pipes got lowered 2.5 inches. Their head pressure, the flow rate, they literally degraded the sewer pipes. I'm still here after 10 years of trying to sell my house to anybody who will accept the fact that they tampered with the finished floor elevation. Not only did they tamper with that, I had a surveyor come out and stand where the puddle starts, and he looked at me and said, "They made you it. They made you it." He says, "I can see it. I've been doing it 35 years. Everything from this point is uphill. It's all supposed to drain onto the golf course." They filled in track day. They made an entitlement. They gave it to a bunch of Trumpers from the Midwest, a bunch of "you're not going to replace us" types. And when I got arrested because I had the plat map in my pocket. The plat map says I had a right to walk there. The plat map is the Bible for this parcel. The plat map says that's an access easement, it's a drain, it's an emergency access easement, it's everything. It's a multi-use, highest and best use, multi-use for everybody that in the parcel. We all own it. They took it out of service. They put a huge tree right in the middle of it. All right, you won't watch the videos because you don't want to learn the truth. All you have to do is to earn your money. I'm proud. I'll be proud in a way to have to pay a judgment. The reason I'm proud is because I found out everything I did to these lots. I've got about 300 videos that I've made in the last 10 years of everything I did out here. And in every one of those videos, there's a lighthouse somewhere on the property. And the HOA, and another thing that Saul has told me, he says, all this that you want to bring up is ancient history. Statute of limitations. They're not going to go back 2 years. You got 2 years to find this out, what they did to you. And if you don't find it out in 2 years, you can't do anything. But, like I said, that lighthouse, I've got videos that are over 10 years old that show the lighthouse on my property somewhere. And for you to come along and write a letter that's 2 years old and say the lighthouse is still there, and she signs your letter, she signs a deposition that says everything he says I agree with. Did you come out and see if there was a lighthouse? And you're going to downplay this to the judge, and I'm sure the judge is going to downplay it to me. He's going to say, well, that's not important. Let's move on. Let's move on from this and really get down to the nuts and bolts of this lawsuit. And the reason I send the letters back, I've told her. I sent her letters. I've got receipts, return receipts, where I've sent her letters saying, don't send me any letters that don't have a picture in them. They send me this alphanumerical code. Go on the website, put in this alphanumerical code, and you'll see the picture of what we're talking about. I don't go on their website. On the day she kicked me out of the HOA, she more or less said, you're out of the HOA. You still have to pay dues. You've got 2 houses. Nobody in your houses used this. You don't use it. You never use it. You haven't used it in 19 years. You've never been to one of our parties. So all that $35,000 that you paid in dues, and then all the taxes and everything else, is a wash. We don't care whether you were here or not. All right? They screwed me right from the start. These people in Buckeye, I grew up in a town just like Buckeye, in upstate New York. It's Republican, rabid Republican, rabid white. They don't know what a black person is in my county, in upstate New York. They don't have any. It's all white, it's all Republican. The people who drafted me 56 years ago. The same people who drafted me into the service 56 years ago are the same demographic that's on that board. They're white, they're Republican, and we don't want him in here anymore. They're so jealous of me. I took human factors class. When I was working at United Airlines, I had to go to human factors class for a week. 8 hours a day for a week. I was in human factors class. And what we talked about were all the sins of a human. Jealousy, envy, criminal, dishonesty. And then we started talking about like groupthink. And that's what's going on over in that. When you guys go into an executive session, and I don't know if you gave them the advice that she doesn't have to talk to me, but you canceled my contract. And you're still making me pay dues. I have to pay dues on 2 houses, and my key card's been canceled. I can't get into the HOA. If I have friends visit, they can't use the HOA. I can't use the pool. I can't use the weight room. I can't have anything to do with it. I never did before because I didn't have time for it. Okay? I didn't have time for it. And my schedule was that I couldn't go to any parties. So everybody thinks that I don't want to mingle with anybody. And I know the other day I met one of my lady friends, a neighbor that I've known for years here, and we were talking, and she's a MAGA. I tried to talk about it to track day, opening it up, and she didn't want to hear it. And I finally said to her, I said, I bet you think Trump is still the president. You should have seen her lip curl. You should have seen her lip curl. All right? She couldn't get away from me fast enough. And I also said, I bet you think that Biden's a pedophile. And she was off. She got in her golf cart and got away from me as fast as she could, because my whole neighborhood, my whole HOA is MAGA. Whenever they have a guest speaker out here at the Sundance Active Adult, all their guest speakers have been election deniers. Schweiker, whoever, those other Andy Biggs, the other one, Kosar, all these guys that are election deniers are invited to speak at Sundance Active Adult. And everybody in the crowd's got a red hat on, except me. I know that. I know Trump. I was in New York 40 years ago when he used to be on The Rich and Famous, Robin Leach, Lives of the Rich and Famous, him and Ivanka, him and Ivana Trump every week would be on Rich and Famous. Okay? He screwed everybody in New York. I know his history. And what it is, when they say, let's make America great again, they're saying, let's go back before 1964. Let's get rid of the Civil Rights Act so that down south we can have separate but equal. We can go back to where we make people of color use the other one. And then they only got to go back about 60 or 70 years to get rid of they went back 50 years to get rid of the abortion. The rest of the country is laughing at Arizona right now. The rest of the country is laughing at Arizona for their abortion laws. 160-year-old abortion law. And now they're laughing because of all the electorals, the phony electoral people that were going to trying to change the voting here, what happened in Arizona. In a way, I'm proud to get sued by Arizona. I'm the only one honest out here. I'm being sued by a bunch of grifters and grafters. I guess you've hung up. I guess he's hung up on me. All right. Well, I got my piece in. I've said my thing. He's hung up on me like everybody. They don't want to hear the truth. All right? They don't want to hear the truth. And I feel that when I go into court, this judge, with all due respect to Arizona law, is going to do exactly what Trevor wants. He's not going to even question the lighthouse, the phony lighthouse charge. He's not going to question anything. Okay? This lawyer just hung up on me. Thank you for listening. This is going to go on YouTube.